How y'all doing? I'm Paul Ryan, your host of the Across the Cowboys podcast. If you're new to the show, thank you for joining us. And to our regular listeners, welcome back. With me, as always, is my co-host, the greatest co-host in the world, Mike The Pig Crum. Mike, how are you?
It's good to be back, my friend.
Yes, sir, it is. I missed you, bro.
I missed you, too. I apologize. 1 week was, what was it? Labor Day, Memorial Day? God, I don't sleep. And then, of course, with the theft and everything. So I apologize to both of you because this is it's 2 weeks past what it's supposed to be. But we're here now and we're going to make it amazing.
Mike, if you ever get your laptop stolen again, I'm done with you.
Nice, dude. Look at this. I'm not even joking. See that? Look at the size of this safe I had to buy.
Oh, dude. That's a nice safe, bro.
It cost me an arm and a leg, plus this second $2,500. You know what? We're not going to get angry. We're happy today. Everything's good. I just have a really good, $6,000 laptop. You add everything together.
That makes me sick, man. Screw thieves for sure. Well, Mike, you mentioned, let's be happy. I imagine your happy place, one of your happy places has to be on Twitter. Where can we find you there?
At CD Piglet, guys. Nice and easy.
Guys, I'm Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. Well, tonight is the debut of Mike and I's new series, The Cowboys Crystal Ball. In this series, Mike and I will bring on a guest to talk about portions of the Cowboys season and predict the Cowboys record. With us tonight is the co-host of the 4D Pod, content creator for StarBoyzNetwork with the best beard in the Cowboys community. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Jay Massey to the program. Jay, how are you?
Good, man. How are you guys doing tonight?
We're doing well, sir, man. We appreciate you coming on tonight.
I appreciate being invited on. I've been listening to the show a long time. It's funny because when I started to get on Twitter and get on into more content creating, your guys' show is one of the ones I used to listen to all the time, and it's wild to think I would become close with you guys and then, be on the show one day. So, man, it's an honor.
Oh, well, Jay, you just made my day, man. I appreciate that because I know that we all get inspiration from different people in the Cowboys community. I know that John, is it John Hogue or John who does the Sooners?
Mine's John Williams.
John Williams, yes. Yeah. Thanks for throwing me a bone there, Mike. Yes, John Williams. Yeah, John Williams was one of my inspirations to want to do Cowboys content. So, anytime somebody says they listen to the show, man, it means a lot to me.
Jay's partner, Dan Rupert. I mean, I'm not writing for Cowboys Wire. It's not for your podcast partner. Other than, of course, ours, humbly, I'd say we're tier one, 4D podcast, maybe a little Locked On. And humbly, I'll put ours in there. But I really love 4D podcasts. As you know, even though we argue about half the stuff we talk about, I absolutely love it.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Well, Massey, for the people who don't know, where can we find you on Twitter, sir?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter at the Jay Massey. Massey's Massey. Just simple. Not as simple as CD Piglet, but
Not that nice or that easy, right?
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, guys, tonight, Mike, Jay, and I will be discussing the first 4 weeks of the regular season. And so first up is our week 1 matchup, week 1 versus Tampa Bay. They're in 2021. Tampa Bay's record was 13-4. Their playoff record was 1-1. They lost in the divisional round. And their 2022 strength of schedule, they have the 4th most difficult schedule. So, Massey, let me ask you, when you look at Tampa Bay's offseason, what was a key addition that they had, in your opinion?
A key addition. I mean, they might have just made their key addition with Hakeem Hicks.
Hakeem Hicks,
yeah, Hakeem Hicks, yeah. That was a good signing for them. They hadn't re-signed Suh. They needed another guy. They needed to replace him with a big strong body on that defensive line and a guy who can get up the field and go after the passer. Like Suh does. And so being able to sign Hicks is a huge bonus for them to pair him and put him next to Vita Vea out there.
Absolutely. Mike, what about you? What were some losses that you thought Tampa Bay had additions for Tampa
Mine
Bay?
was Shaq Mason, man. When the O-line's not good for Tom Brady, he has issues, and they needed to rebuild that sucker, and they brought him in. I believe he was from New England. He played with Tom Brady in New England, I believe. And, up the middle pressure is a real big – typically you come around the edge, he steps up on you. Tom Brady's smart. He knows how to step up, move side to side. But if you can get pressure up the middle, you cause him a lot of trouble. So securing a good inside offensive lineman, I like that move.
Yeah, for me, maybe this is more so for fantasy purposes, but you look at Chris Godwin, he's recovering from injury. I like the addition of Russell Gage to help in the middle of the field there. I thought that was a nice fill and maybe, dare I say, replacement for Chris Godwin early in the season.
Isn't it nice to be a team that signs 3 big-name free agents?
Yeah.
Dude.
What is that? What is that?
Just let's nope. And we're not going to go negative.
Happy place.
Yeah. Happy place.
So we're talking about additions. What Massey, when you look at their sticking with this Tampa Bay offseason, were there some losses that stuck out to you?
Yeah, I mean, does Antonio Brown count? An amazing player. We all know he's, maybe not always right in the head. But when he's on the field, he's a dynamic player. He helped them a lot at the end of last year. I mean, the prior season, and when they went and won the Super Bowl, he helped them out a lot in the playoffs. So that could be. They haven't re-signed Gronk yet, so that if they don't re-sign him, that could be a potential big loss at tight end. They're going to rely on OJ Howard. Is he going to be the guy now? So how Brady loves his tight end. So I think the Gronk is a potential big loss as well.
Mike, what about you?
Well, Sue, I'm going to stick with Ndamukong Suh. I had him when we first started this. Of course, I got Hicks, so it negates that a little bit. But Hicks has been injured. He has to show he can play a little bit. If you look, every defense that Ndamukong's been on the last 4 to 5 years been a top 5 run defense. He's a ultimate one technique. He's just hard to deal with. And so I think he's a big loss. But as Massey said, if Hicks is healthy, he can fill that role. Maybe not to top tier level, but I mean Hicks is as close as you could get.
Yeah, and Suh doesn't miss games, so that's a big thing for your point on losing it. Is that Hicks has missed a lot of games the past few years with injuries. Suh doesn't miss games, so that could be a potential loss.
I know that he's still part of the team, part of the organization, but Bruce Arians going from head coach to the front office. Do you consider that a loss, or is that kind of an addition by subtraction when you consider the relationship between Brady and Arians there?
Huge loss, in my opinion. I see everybody clamoring for Dan Quinn to be head coach for us, and I'm like, I love him as defensive coordinator. I think he could be as good as McCarthy or in that range. He's not a bad head coach, but he's not as good a head coach as he is a defensive coordinator. And I think the same with Tampa Bay. They have a guy who's an elite defensive coordinator who has not been a very good head coach so far. And so, Bruce Arians a proven head coach, and Rashad, what is the guy's name? Davis. I'm blanking on the D coordinator's name.
Raheem
Morris.
Yes, Morris.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, I apologize, guys. Thank you, Jay. He isn't proven as a head coach, so I think that's a huge loss.
Yeah, so when you look at this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team, do you think they got better or worse this offseason, Jay?
I'd say a little bit worse, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Because, like I said, the loss of Antonio Brown is big to me just because of, he had instant chemistry with Brady on the field and off the field. They for some reason, they clicked where you wouldn't think those two players would click, but they did. So him gone, Godwin possibly missing the first part of the season, potentially recovering, or if he does, maybe he has a slow start to the season. Like we said, Suh being gone, Hicks, yes, you replace him with Hicks, it helps out a little, but like I mentioned, Suh doesn't miss games and Hicks does. So, and then you miss they lost some offensive linemen, they gained some, so they had shuffling pieces around, but overall, I just think they did get a little bit worse. And then I know we've been saying this for the last 5 to 10 years, but Brady's a year older. That cliff has to come sometime, right?
Yeah.
I mean, eventually, right? So I don't know, maybe.
Yeah, I won't lie. I wouldn't be surprised if Tom Brady was the first player to defeat Father Time. I won't lie.
He was losing that battle last year. That's one of the reasons I have them as worse is, man, he got beat up last year, and you're taking away a couple of his weapons, as JA said. You're taking away his head coach, who's the offensive minded guy. Like, I like Byron Leftwich, but Bruce Arians is the man. It's just like when you do Kansas City. As good as those the assistants are, the offensive coordinators are, it's still Andy Reid. So I think if you look at the coaching, the losses of talent on offense, and the moving up of the defensive coordinator to head coach, I think they got worse personally.
Well, Michael, when you look at this matchup, Dallas and Tampa Bay, how does Dallas match up with Tampa?
I hate the matchup this early. I really do. I don't like our offensive line right now versus their defensive line in any way, shape, or form. Michael Gallup's injury is going to cause issues because it's going to be difficult to run. Our O-line is just, I don't see why Tampa doesn't do what every other team does. Rush 4. You got Vita Vea and Hicks in the middle now. Rush 4, play coverage shell, see if we can run on you. We didn't even attempt it last year, and our offensive line was doing well early on. So I don't like the matchup at all. And I think Brady's a tough first matchup for the defense. Like, he's getting a whole offseason to prepare. He saw what we did to him last year in the first game. So I don't like this matchup. I like the talent versus talent. If we were in week 10 or on, I don't like it week 1.
Massey, what about you?
Yeah, I got mixed feelings because I get Mike is spot on about his evaluation of it, but there are some things I like. Brady's usually a slow starter to the season, so that's a little bit of a good thing. I like our offensive matchup if we can get rolling again like we were in the beginning of last season and Dak healthy. I do like that. Dak picked them apart last year, as we saw. They don't have the secondary necessarily to keep up with it. Yes, our weapons might not be as good with the loss of trading away Cooper, but we got some guys to come in. CeeDee Lamb hopefully steps up. Tolbert hopefully plays good. I know we probably won't have Gallup for that first game. But I do like some aspects of it. If we use Pollard a little bit more, I think that can help us on runs to the outside. It's tough sledding running up the middle on them. Even without Vita Vea is a beast. Hicks is a beast. So it's tough on there. It's going to be a difficult matchup. The saving grace is that it's in Dallas. I think last year, if the game was in Dallas, we probably win. Rather than being in Tampa, but so we'll have to see how they respond to a home game hosting Brady.
Last year we saw Antonio Brown tear our defense up, and then we saw Trayvon Diggs get it. He was effective. But as far as our offense goes, we saw the game that Dak had, and we saw, Amari Cooper and both CeeDee Lamb go for over 100 yards. When you look at this Dallas team, who do you think needs to be the difference maker for us to win this game, Jay?
Yeah, so I think it needs to be. Are you talking offense or defense or just anybody?
Just anybody on the team.
I think it's got to be Parsons.
Yeah.
I think Parsons got to be all over the field, and he's got to give Brady fits. How you beat Brady is you hit him. It's been It's been the blueprint for beating Brady for years. But the problem is actually being able to execute it because teams know that you have to protect. They have to protect him. So if Parsons can get at it, we played last year that Parsons was first game ever. He made some mistakes. He wasn't ready. Took him a couple weeks to really get his pass rushing down. He should be raring to go week 1 this year. And so I think Parsons has to be a big factor in rushing Tom Brady and coming from every angle and, getting some hits on Brady and hurting him.
Mike, what about you?
I figured that Dak and Parsons would be the two ones that were said, so I tried to go outside the box a little bit. I went with Gallimore. I think the same thing JA said. I believe pressure up the middle matters a lot, which is the guy is Parsons. Don't get me wrong, In the first matchup last year, he was used more as a linebacker. They had Randy Gregory, Dorrance Armstrong, Tank. People were healthy. Nobody was suspended. So they brought their regular edge rush. It wasn't until injuries happened and suspensions happened that Parsons had to move over, and everybody was like, oh my God, this guy is a monster pass rushing. And then that changed how they used him. Well, now they're going to send him probably up the middle quite often versus Tom Brady. The reason I'm saying Gallimore is there's going to be a lot of times where you can't blitz. You can't just always blitz Tom Brady. So those middle guys, Osa and Gallimore, have got to get up the middle pressure, allow Dante Fowler and Armstrong and Tank and Parsons to get the outside and not let Brady step up easy and shift away from him. So Gallimore is like my surprise guy. We all know.
I like it.
And hopefully Gallimore can slow down Leonard Fournette. I imagine that Tampa Bay will try to run on us every opportunity they get when you look at our defensive line and everything.
That 15 pounds that I heard, who were the two guys? I know Gallimore was one.
Chauncey Golston and Gallimore.
And man, let's go.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hey,
all right, Massey.
Don't forget about my trash can full of dirt in the middle, Ridgeway, man.
Mm-hmm. Hey, there you go. Ready to break some necks.
Hopefully he'll be key. I know it's going to be hard week 1, but I love that guy in the middle.
Hey, maybe Bohanna will be ready too.
Against running teams, Bohanna, you could put Bohanna, Golston, Ridgeway, and Tank on that line, and I'll be more than I won't bother me at all. Try to run against it.
Yep,
absolutely. All right, Jay. When you look at this matchup, is this a win or a loss?
Oh man, I've gone back and forth on this one, to be honest with you, because these first 2 weeks are tough. The NFL schedule makers did us no favors with these first 2 weeks. I'm gonna go win, and I'm gonna go win because it's in Dallas, and the Cowboys are going to get their first win ever against Tom Brady.
There you go, Mike. How about you?
I apologize. I'm going for a loss in this first week. I got to see it. I'm sorry. I know what Tom Brady's going to do. I know what Tampa's going to do. I don't know about this O-line. I don't know. I believe the defense will be very strong. I don't think very many defenses can just shut down Tom Brady. So Tom Brady's going to get his. I think Dak healthy will do a good job too. But knowing what they have at their defensive line compared to the unknowns of my offensive line, Gallup's out. I don't know if Kelvin Joseph is my second starting cornerback or if AB's back out there and I got Jordan Lewis in the slot. It's too many unknowns for me to pick us. So I'm going to take us at 0-1.
And when I look at the losses of Antonio Brown, not knowing if Gronkowski's coming back and Godwin probably starting the year, on the sidelines, I have a feeling that Mike and the defense look at this as a bit of a revenge game. They want to get the season started off right. I feel like Mike and the boys are going to do just enough to seal this victory. So I have this as a W.
I hope so. Let's go 2-1. Let's give us a dub.
Jay, you mentioned that the schedule makers did us no favors. You're looking at this week 2 matchup versus Cincinnati Bengals. Looking at their 2021 record, they're 10-7. They were the AFC North champions. Their playoff record, there's 3-1. They lost in the Super Bowl, and their strength of schedule is the third most difficult. Looking at the Bengals, they had some big additions this offseason. What were some that stuck out to you?
Man, I'm really drawing a blank on who they added this offseason.
Offensive line.
Yeah.
Offensive line. There you go. Leo Collins, one of the top right tackles in the league. Our loss is their game. Honestly.
Yeah.
Honestly, our loss is their game. They went out and tried to solidify that line because Burrow got beat up his rookie year and then got beat up last year, but he was able to stay healthy last year, and you saw what he did. They have the weapons out there. So they're getting that right side with Leo Collins secured. It's gonna help him, and it's gonna help Joe Mixon out because we know that Leo Collins is a monster in the run game as well. The guy's just gonna pave the way for Joe Mixon. So that one's bitter.
Mike, how about you?
I got Kappa, who's the inside offensive lineman they got. I honestly just put both down on whichever. I knew we were going offensive line. So if he would have went Kappa, I would have went Collins. Since he went Collins, I'll go Kappa. Man, that I'll tell you what though, that Tank and Collins battle.
That'll be fun to watch.
Fun to watch. I don't know if Collins wants any of Parsons. Little bit too fast for him.
Yeah.
But him and Tank will get some battles in the run game because they're both such they're good run players. One defensively and one as a run blocker, as Massey was talking about. Kappa, obviously, Bengals went on kind of a magical run, but their quarterback would not survive getting hit the way he and pressured the way he has been. So going out and getting Collins, getting Kappa are big moves for them to solidify that O-line.
Yeah, another guy they got, sticking with the offensive line here, is center Ted Karras, another veteran addition to that offensive line. That's going to help the young guy who they took last season, Jackson Carman, if he's going to be the starter. And, anytime you can add veteran offensive linemen, it's going to help on a unit that was pretty bad the year before.
I like getting Cincinnati early. I know we're going to get into that, but I like that for the shuffling of the offensive lines going to take a minute.
It's always difficult to keep a Super Bowl team together. When you look at the Bengals, were there some losses that stuck out to you, Mike?
Yeah, I had none, to be honest.
Yeah.
I think the tight end's replaceable. Hayden Hurst could do what people. It's like Schultz. I don't hate Schultz. I just don't want to pay Schultz because he's not a dynamic player. What Uzama?
CJ Uzoma.
Yeah, he's not a dynamic player either. He's just surrounded by Mixon and Boyd and Jamar Chase, and so is he a loss? Sure. Is he probably better than Hayden Hurst? Sure. But is it going to change their world that they didn't lose anybody like that. So I honestly put none.
Yeah, same here. I was trying to find someone. They didn't lose anybody of note. I was even looking on the coaching staff to see if maybe they lost somebody who was a big part of their their success last year. I didn't find anybody, so I think it's safe to say they got better this offseason as well. But they didn't have any key losses, which is strange for a Super Bowl team.
Yeah, I like Uzama a little bit more than I guess Mike does. I really like him. I actually wanted to let Schultz walk this year and bring him in. I thought he would have been. He's a cheap. You saw the contract. I think he got like $8 million a year. I think that's a fair contract for him, and it's a good contract going forward. So I like him. But he's like Mike said. He's not like that dynamic guy who's going to be like amazing. But I think he could. Our system's built for tight ends to put up numbers. So I think he could do. I think he could do well. I think he's a little bit more athletic than Schultz. So that's why I kind of like him a lot. But so losing him is a little bit of a loss for them, but bringing in Hurst, it's not that big of a loss. So like it really isn't like it has to be mentioned. So there really wasn't any significant losses for a Super Bowl team, which is rare.
And you look at the losses that they had and then the additions it made on the offensive line. I think it's fair to say that they got better this offseason. Would you agree with that, Mike?
For sure, definitely. They got better.
I wasn't trying to cut you off, Mike. It looked like you were trying to say something there. I apologize.
No, I was just going to say I was going to agree with him. I would have took him over Schultz too. Schultz is fine. He's a fine player. He can go get paid somewhere else, and I don't blame another team for bringing him in. He's gotten better every year. He makes catches and everything, but he's not somebody I need to pay. Like, do I think Ferguson next year could put up similar numbers or McKeon? Sure. They're going to get one-on-one coverage all day. So, Schultz is not a big deal to me. I would have took the Bengals tight end as well over him. $8 million is not a bad contract either.
No, not at all.
I feel like he does a little bit more after the catch too than Schultz does, just to add into that as well. A popular debate that was going on Twitter last season was Joe Burrow or Dak Prescott the better quarterback? When you look at this, Massey, whose side are you on?
Man, it's close. If you just go based on last year, it is close. Like, Joe Burrow had a really, really good year. Depending on what quarterback stats you favor more, Joe Burrow's ahead of Dak in some, Dak's ahead of Joe Burrow in some. So I'd say it's pretty even. I'd say they're probably on the same tier if you want to go by tiers. I just need to see it more, obviously, from Joe Burrow. You know, it was his second year. His first year, he only had a couple of games and he got injured. He played decent in his rookie year when he played, but a lot of it was volume stats where he was throwing 40 to 50 times a game because they were so far behind. And then, you know, Chase comes in, and Chase is obviously a monster, and he, you know, it helps him out. You know, he's one of those Randy Moss type guys where you just throw it up and he's going to go get it. So it really helped him out. I think Joe Burrow has been a lot better than I thought he would be, and he is surprised. So if he can come back out and put up numbers like he did last year again and keep up at the same pace as Dak, then it's a really good – I mean, it's a really good comparison between the two, honestly.
Mike, how about you?
Okay, so there's two different things. If you're asking me which one's better right now, Dak Prescott's just seen more. Like Joe Burrow's only been in the league 2 times. He's going to get fooled by things. Dak gets fooled 6 years in. Russell Wilson gets fooled 10 years. So just on they're a pretty even level, same tier like Massey said. Just on what he's seen, Dak Prescott would be the better quarterback right now. Now, I used to have this argument with people about Russell Wilson and Dak. I used to go, well, yeah, Russell Wilson's better now. He's 8 years in. Dak's whatever years in. You know, and people would say that with Romo. I'm like, yeah, but you're comparing Romo 10 years in to Dak in his 4th year, you know. So what I would say is, if you ask me starting a franchise, would you probably take Joe Burrow over Dak? Sure. I could agree with that. He may have more upside potential. But if you're saying right now, I got to play in a game and you give him the same team, I think Dak would play better than Joe Burrow would if they're both healthy and good to go, because he's just seen more. He went into New England and broke records versus the best defensive mind maybe ever in the history. Not even maybe. The best defensive mind in history, basically, and he broke records against them. That was before he was injured and before the stuff came along. So you've seen what he was last year through the first 6 games, what he could be. So I'm going to take Dak as better right now.
Yeah,
I would agree with
right
that.
there with you guys as well. Dak for me, and it's really a lot of veteran experience, but also just the play that the level of performance that he had last year, the first 8 weeks of the season. I mean, not many quarterbacks can do that. It would be surprised to see Joe Burrow do something like that. I mean, even as good as he was last year, Massey, you said that it was a lot of volume passing, a lot of playing catch up, and you know sometimes those teams just get hot at the right time. And I feel like the Bengals did that. That's not trying to discredit Joe Burrow. It's just I feel like he's not on Dak's level yet, in my opinion.
Fair.
Yep. You mentioned earlier Joe Mixon, Jamar Chase, and the loss of CJ Uzomah. You know, they've got a lot of weapons. Looking at the Bengals team, which player scares you most, Massey?
Oh, it's got to be Chase, man. It's got to be Chase. I know we got Diggs, but like, and this might, I mean, this really doesn't mean anything, but like people will point out that Chase really beat up on Diggs in college when he was at LSU versus Alabama. He beat him up pretty bad. Diggs obviously is not the same player. You can make an argument Chase is not the same player. You can make an argument both are better. I think Diggs is a lot better than he was in college. So that's going to be an interesting matchup. You got to see if he's going to shadow him all game or if he's, what's going to happen. But I'm just scared of Jamar Chase because you can cover that guy for the majority of the game and then he can catch one pass and go 90 yards for a touchdown. Like he's just that kind of dynamic player. Or he could do it twice in a game, and he's got 2 catches for 160 yards and 2 touchdowns. It's just he's that kind of player. So that scares me how he can change a game in any moment.
Mike, what about you?
Joe Burrow, he was so good under pressure last year. It's like even if you get around him, he makes plays. Now, a lot of them are throwing the ball up to Jamar Chase. Don't get me wrong. That is about 50% of it. Those guys have a connection from LSU, and so he trusts them enough to just go, okay, one-on-one, chuck it. But his mobility, his ability to run, I don't think he'd run away from Micah, but pretty much anybody else on our defense he could run away from. I want to see because Diggs, I feels like one of those guys that all week they're going to talk about how Jamar Chase cut him up in college.
Oh yeah,
so he's going to come prepared. I'm excited for that. That could be a Jamar Chase goes for 580 and a touchdown, but Diggs gets a couple picks too. That could be one of those fun matchups. So, Joe Burrow is going to be my pick. Quarterback, gets the ball all the time, plays well under pressure. He scares me.
Player that scares me most of this matchup's got to be Joe Mixon. You look at the additions they made on the offensive line, and where our defensive line has had issues stopping the run. They really took advantage of that last year, and we know what kind of runner Joe Mixon is. So I'm scared of Joe Mixon this matchup. I really am. I know that it's still going to be early in the season, but he's the type that he can catch it behind the line of scrimmage and take 150, 60 yards, or he can break tackles. He's physical. He's elusive. So I'm scared about Joe Mixon this week, or that week rather.
Yeah.
Mike, do you have this as a win or a loss?
Myself?
Yeah.
I have this as a win.
Hey, there you go.
I think the Bengals got hot at the right time, but I don't know if they're as good as I don't predict them to be a contender this year. I think the AFC West is better than they are. I think I'm blanking on a couple other teams. I don't have Bengals. Like, I don't think they're going to be another one where you're like, oh man, these guys, this is a Super Bowl team again. I think they just got hot at the right. Joe Burrow and Chase got hot. They were able to outdo a bad offensive line. I don't think their defense is great. They're okay. Like, I would take our defense over theirs. So I think getting them in week 2 is good. They'll kind of be on a high from how well they did last year. I think they got to get used to their offensive line. And I just don't think they're as good as it seems to be on paper. So off of last year. So I think we'll beat them.
Massey, what about you?
Yeah, me and Mike are flipping. I've got this one as a loss, unfortunately. I think I think it's going to be a close game. I agree with Mike. I like their defense better than ours. But their offense is just so explosive. I think we can take advantage of a lot of things on their defense. Like Eli Apple, that's a guy who you take advantage of anytime you can. He's on the field. And the Cowboys have a lot of times knowing him from when he was with the Giants. So I think it's going to be a shootout. I think it's going to be a tough game, but I think that the Bengals are going to pull it out in the end. It's just hard to say Tampa Bay and Bengals bang 2-0. Just looking at those teams, but so I got a close loss against the Bengals.
For me, it's after a massive win over Tampa Bay, I see Dak and the boys win a shootout over the Bengals, who are still a young team and also recovering from a Super Bowl hangover. So I have this as a W.
Homer.
I like it.
Sorry.
Somebody's got to do it, Mike.
Hey, I love it.
I'm rooting for it. I want it. I would like 2-0.
Now watch, he's got us losing the next one.
Yeah, looking at the next one, it's week 3 at the New York Giants. The Giants' record in 2021, 4-13, last in the division. Their playoff record, of course, they missed the playoffs. Their 2022 strength of schedule is the 4th easiest. Mike, when you look at the Giants offseason, what are some key additions that stood out to you?
You want the defensive end or you want the tackle, Massey?
Either one.
All right, I'll go Tibbs then, because that was my top guy. I had him falling actually further because I thought the off-field stuff would be a problem. So I thought he would go around 10, but Giants had him top of their board and got him right there. Put him on the opposite side of Ojulari. That's a nice tandem right there. So, yeah, I like Kayvon Thibodeau.
Is Ojulari, he's kind of more of like, would have been a Randy Gregory, and Tibbs is more of a Tank Lawrence. Is that fair to say? Is that a fair comparison?
Yeah. It's actually a really good one.
Very fair.
Massey, what about you? I guess, are you going with the left tackle here, sounds like?
Yeah, Evans. I mean, he fell in the draft a little bit further than some people thought he would. And that they made a good pick, and he has the potential to be a left tackle of the future. Now, they've been searching for that for a long, long time, and they've made high draft picks to get that position, and it hasn't really worked out for them. So it will be interesting to see. But just based on projections from college, he's a good prospect at that position. So I think it's a big addition to help protect Daniel Jones or whoever their future at quarterback is going to be.
It's not Daniel Jones.
It's not Daniel Jones. It's not Danny Dimes.
You know, I like the addition of Brian Dabble, the former offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills, becoming the head coach there at the New York Giants. Man, I like the moves that they've made this offseason, but that was my favorite addition by the Giants this offseason.
Got rid of Gettleman. That was their best addition.
God, that's
Gettleman, Joe Judge, Jason Garrett.
I hate that. I hate that they got rid of Gettleman.
Me too. He was the best. He was the best for Dallas. He was the best Dallas front office person.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You mentioned that the loss of Gettleman, which is probably more of a addition by subtraction, but what was the loss there, Massey, by the Giants this offseason that caught your attention?
Well, I mean,
if there's anyone, if there's not one, no problem.
They're not really huge losses. I mean, there is the rumors about Tony. Maybe they're looking to trade or cut Tony just because of his off the field issues. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're going to stay with him. But everybody's making a big deal about the Eagles signing Bradbury. So if everybody's making it, I don't think he's that great. He was one of the worst cornerbacks in the league last year. I know the prior 2 years he was really good. So maybe it was just a random bad year that he had with them. But we'll have to see. But everybody loves him for the Eagles and thinks he's a good player. So if that's the case and he played like he did the prior 2 years, then that's a big loss. But I just don't think he's that good.
I won't lie. When I was preparing the show sheet, when it came to this question, I just had a question mark because I didn't really see any losses that they had that are going to impact this team, which is already pretty bad. But, I feel like they've only gotten better. Mike, what about you?
I put none. None. They're terrible. Their whole team's terrible. Like Evan Ingram. Oh no, not Evan Ingram. The guy who can't catch the ball. Bradbury. I mean, if you give me Bradbury from 2 years ago, sure, big loss. You give me last year's Bradbury. There's a reason they cut him because he played like he did last year. So I mean, you can't. It's like going. What a huge addition Dallas made. They got Dante Fowler. Did you see that year he played with the Rams in 2019?
Right.
Like, well, okay, sure. If you give me him, then we got a guy who's better than Randy Gregory. But the chances are it's not. So none. They're terrible. They didn't lose anybody good.
All right, so it's fair to say that the Giants improved this offseason, so we'll skip that question here. When you look at the way the season is starting off, could this possibly be a must-win game, Massey?
Man, that's a good question. If we go 0-2 against the Bucks and the Bengals, then yes, I mean there's a chance, there's a legitimate chance for that happening. Then it would 100% be a must-win game because starting the season 0-3 and making the playoffs is very, very rare. So yeah, it could. But if it's 1-1.
Massey, you're losing your audio, my brother.
Your audio, my friend. Can't hear you, Matt.
Did you guys lose me?
There we go.
We lost you there for a second.
You're good now. You hear us?
Yeah. Can you hear me now?
Yeah. You're a little low.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Hold on 1 second. The audio's messing up.
No worries.
I'll just say must win. I don't have a must win game in week 3 when it's a bad division. So I'll just throw that in and I'll let Massey jump back in. You back on, Mass?
Yeah, can you guys hear me now?
Yes. A little low, but we can hear you. Hey, I can hear me.
Okay, hold on a second.
So, Mike, let me ask you, while Massey's still adjusting his audio, if we start the season off 1-2, how are you feeling after 3 weeks?
Gross. We should not lose to Bengals and Giants, or we should be able to split one of those home games and then beat the Giants should be a walk. You should not be losing the Giants. So, yeah, I would say Mike McCarthy would be on the hot seat pretty quick if we started off 1-2. I don't find this first three. I just don't think Bengals are as good as Super Bowl and Giants are easy. I think that Dallas should go 2-0, 2-1, or 3-0. So yeah, I'd be like, oh boy, if we were 1-2 or 0-3.
Yeah. Okay. So if we did start off 0-3, do you think maybe McCarthy should go ahead and be fired, or wait till the bye week?
Let me see what we play with. I'm giving him week 4. See what he does against Washington. But man, you go 0-4 or 1-3 right there. It's probably a gotta go situation. Sorry, Mass, you back?
Yeah, can you guys hear me now better?
No, perfect. Now perfect.
Okay, sorry about that.
As far as this being a must-win game, yeah, I mean, if we were to start the season off 0-2, I do feel like this would definitely be a must-win game. And Mass, I'm not sure if you heard me and Mike, but I was just asking if we started the season off 0-3, should Mike McCarthy be fired? He said he'd give him until week 4. What about you?
Man, if we start off 0-2, that's kind of like, but if we lose to the Giants, yeah, I might kick him to the curb, man. Like, honestly, I mean, a win against Washington's not going to convince me of anything the next week. If we're 1-3 and with the win, that's not going to convince me of anything. So, like, if I can understand 0-2 just because of the Tampa Bay and the Bengals, but if you go and lose to the Giants, then yeah, you're on the chopping block for me, man. You're probably not catching that charter back home.
That's fair.
Very fair. Well, Mike, it sounds like you have this as a win. Massey, I assume you have this as a win as well. And yeah,
I have it as a blowout. 20-plus point win. Yeah.
I like the emphasis there.
We killed it.
We all have this as a win. Kill the division, yeah. All right, here we are, week 4 versus the Washington Commanders. And last year they were 7-10, third in the division. They missed the playoffs, of course. Their 2022 strength of schedule, second easiest. Massey, looking at the Commanders, their offseason, were there any key additions for you?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess you can kind of go.
That's such a no.
Yeah, I mean, the quarterback. I mean, if you're a fan of the quarterback they drafted, if you think he's going to play, I get. Okay, I'll say this: Chase coming back healthy, is that an addition?
Yeah, that's fair.
That's fair. Yeah,
getting Chase back, that's a big addition. He's a very strong defensive end. He's very good. He has a lot of talent. So getting Chase back, that's an addition. That's their big addition of the offseason.
Mike, what about you?
None.
Okay.
Sorry, I don't like the receiver they got. I thought they overdrafted him. If a quarterback hits, sure. But I mean, when are they going to find out? When are they going to play him? They brought in Wentz. Woof. Well, they may play him pretty fast. They brought in Wentz. I honestly, I don't know if Wentz is better than Fitzpatrick. I might have just kept Fitzpatrick. I mean, Fitzpatrick at least is believed in. He's a big locker room leader. He's loved by almost all his teammates on every team he's been in. He's loved by his opponents. And Carson Wentz just isn't. I mean, it's all you've seen. Jim Irsay, who I cannot stand, and him of all people was like, dude, we had to get away from Wentz. Like, that's Irsay, like one of the worst humans. And he was like, no, this is too much for me. So yeah, they didn't do anything.
He's not a good leader. And it's the Eagles spoke out on it for years and years, and Eagles fans tried to deny it, but then they saw it at the end. And he goes to the Colts. And 1 year after them giving up a first rounder, they were like, no, 1 year, we're done with this guy.
And Frank Wright, he was even like, no, it was time to move on, of all people.
Yeah. So,
that tells you.
Yeah, he's nothing big for me.
Such a panic move by the Commanders, especially when you think about their locker room. We saw the fight on the sideline during the Cowboys game with those guys, and then you bring in a guy like Carson Wentz who can't control the locker room, who's not believed in. I mean, that was a very head-scratching move there.
And now you look and you see Baker Mayfield available, and maybe Baker's not great, but he's loved by his teammates. I mean, he took them to the playoffs and then battled through that injury for them. Yeah. And then they question his play. I don't know if he's going to be a great player or not, but he did have an injury all year, and he battled for that team. And then they bring in Deshaun Watson, and which I understand the talent there, but I mean, man, if the Commanders got Baker Mayfield, with his leadership with that defense, I would be a little bit more worried about the Commanders.
Fair enough.
Yeah,
it's funny that you say, Mike, the addition that I had was Jahan Dotson, only because adding another piece to be around Terry McLaurin, I mean, to take some pressure off of him. I like the addition there, especially when you look at their skill sets. But not that I was a big fan of Jahan Dotson prior to that, but looking at what they've done this offseason, I felt like that was the only real addition that stuck out to me.
He's going to replace Terry. I don't think Washington's going to pay him.
Interesting. Do you think Washington should pay him?
Right now, I'm not in the 30 million for a receiver. Like if Stephen Jones lets CeeDee Lamb walk to make sure Parsons and Diggs gets paid, I'll live with that. I'm not paying Tyreek Hill money to wide receivers. That shit's crazy to me. They're too replaceable, and you got to be like Jamar Chase. You got to be one of those types to get money.
Davante Adams.
Yeah, Devonta. I don't even know if I'd pay Davante Adams, and he's a Fresno State guy. I love him. But the minute you get to 30, I'm like, nope, I'm not interested. You get that first huge contract if you're a Jamar Chase type, and then from there we see what you're like at the end of those years.
Yeah. So I think it's fair to say that, the Commanders didn't really have any key losses. Again, a bad team. Nothing's really going to stick out there. But when you look at the defensive line, Massey, you talked about bringing back Chase Young. Looking at the defensive line between Dallas and Washington, who do you feel has the better defensive line?
I'd say on the outside, I would take the Cowboys. On the interior, I would take the Commanders. So that's kind of how I see it. And so it's hard. It's kind of a toss-up, I guess. You could, you know what? I would actually say the Commanders, and the reason is because I think even though I like our outside better, I think their outside is better than our interior. So I would probably go Commanders.
And then anytime you add, 4 first rounders to one unit, man, I mean, it's hard to compete with that. Mike, what about you? Who do you think has a better defensive line?
I'm definitely Commanders. Now, obviously, if you're counting Parsons as the opposite of Tank, it makes it closer. Yeah. But I would have liked to have seen what the answers would be if we'd have kept Randy Gregory and Dorrance Armstrong. Ooh. So now you got Gregory, Armstrong, Basham, Golston, Tank, Parsons going. And then an interior Gallimore and Osa starting, but we can move in the Golstons, the Tanks, move inside. They don't really do that. They have their interior guys that they rush, and they have their out guys that they rush. Chase Young's not moving in a lot. They want Jonathan Allen rushing from the inside. They want Daron Payne rushing from the inside. So I think if we re-signed Randy Gregory and Dorrance Armstrong, we had that depth with them losing Ioannidis, and they lost Settle too, right?
Yeah,
so with them losing those guys, I think we would have an argument. But once you lost Randy Gregory and you're kind of on hoping, you guys know it, when you follow in the chat or me on Twitter, I like Dorrance Armstrong a lot. I think he's developed well. He's 24. I think he could take a step, maybe be an 8-sack guy. Very possible. But that's an if. That's not a Chase Young. That's not a Josh Sweat, Yeah. And the same with Dante Fowler. Tell me he becomes that 1 year with the Rams around Parsons and Tank. He becomes a 8 to 10 sack guy. Well, now we have an argument. But going into the year, I can't argue us over the Commanders' D-line.
Yeah, agreed. Massey, Mike, you were talking a little bit about Carson Wentz. But when you look at Carson Wentz and Taylor Heineke, who do you feel? Do you feel that Carson Wentz is an upgrade over Taylor Heineke?
Okay, I'm going to say yes, although I think there's an argument that he's not, because teams rallied around Heineke, even though he was less talented, and so you play up for your quarterback. The reason I'm going to say that he is because both Heineke and Carson Wentz can lose your games. Wentz maybe a little bit even more, which is just scary to think about. But I do think Carson Wentz wins games too. When he's on, he wins some games. So I'll say yes, but it's going to depend on the locker room or the team. Did the team have other leaders that can push past the fact that Carson Wentz, because Heineke was a team leader for that team. Like, they rallied around him. Yeah. And that means a lot at that position. This is not Madden where you plug in and you go, well, yeah, Wentz has a little bit more overall than Heineke, so he's better. No, mentality matters. So while I say yes, I understand if somebody has an argument of like, yeah, but they're going to play for Heineke, so I'd rather have that than the more talented guy.
Exactly. Massey, how about you?
Yeah, I agree with Mike. I think that Carson Wentz is the obvious better physical talent guy. Like, when Carson Wentz is on, he can play really good football. We've seen it. But the problem with Carson Wentz is mentals. He doesn't have the mental capacity for the game, and he's mentally weak. We saw that when he was looking over his shoulder with Hurts there. He just doesn't have the mental makeup to be like, hey, he's not tough enough, mentally tough enough to play in this league. And so Heineke is. And Heineke, like, he's that raw, I'm going to rally this team behind me, and these guys are going to follow me into battle with their pitchforks, like, that's him. And Wentz is not that guy. He's the guy that's just going to be like, all right, I'll see you guys at home, Yeah. So it is interesting because I think just physical talent-wise, Carson Wentz is an upgrade throwing the football. But that's not all it takes to play quarterback in this league. And we saw that with Romo and Dak. The team rallied around Dak his rookie year. And anybody with eyes could tell you that Romo was the superior physically talented player at that point in their careers. And as long as he was healthy. But the team rallied around Dak because he was that leader that everybody was like, yeah, this is the guy I'm going to go fight for.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Mike White was on Tyler at Cryptic Ghost. Really great interview. And I listened to it yesterday where I was working out. And Mike White said, he goes, well, he didn't want to give away his source, but he was like, well, he's retired. I'll give it away. And he said that Travis Frederick told him the minute he took a snap from Dak Prescott, he knew, he was like, oh, no, this guy's different. Even than Romo, than obviously the Showers and the Kellen Moores. But he's like, even than Romo, this just the way he leads, the way he is just another level. So yeah, that was one of my favorite moments of that. And I think that fits here. It just shows that, everybody loved Romo, great thrower of the ball, people, but even then, just the way Dak was, I think that's the same here. Heineke is one of those type of people you get behind. Wentz isn't.
Man, the fact that Travis Frederick said that after all the years he played with Romo and then after just one, a very short time with Dak, that says a lot, man.
That's the Dak impact. That's the Dak effect.
Yes,
and you could see it, and I know we're getting a little bit off topic, so I apologize for bringing this up. No. But like,
right.
You could see it, and I think the perfect example of that is with Dez Bryant, because Dez Bryant and Tony Romo had that connection on field. Like, Dez knew where Romo was going to throw it, and Romo knew exactly where to place it, where Dez was going to go up and get it. And Dez and Dak didn't have that connection on field. Now, it could be a lot of Dak was really young. He was still learning. He was working on his accuracy. When he was young, he's improved a ton on that since that time. But they didn't have that connection on field that Romo and Dez had, because they knew where each other were going to go. Romo knew where to put it where Dez wanted. But Dez still rallied around Dak. Like, just personality-wise, Dez still was a raw Dak guy, because he loved Dak's leadership and his intangibles. So I think that is a perfect example right there.
Absolutely. Yep. All right, guys, I have a feeling where everybody's going with this one, but when you look at this Week 4 matchup versus the Commanders, is this a winner or loss, Massey?
Blowout, 20-plus point win.
Oh, another blowout. Okay, back-to-back blowouts. That might save McCarthy's job, right?
There you go.
Mike, how about you?
We whoop on the division. Dak kills the division. He'll kill them.
Yep, this is we're starting off the season perfect, boys, in my opinion. This is the 4th straight win for the Cowboys.
Yeah, like I said, that the schedule makers didn't do us any favors with the Tampa Bay and the Cincinnati back-to-back, but then they did a little bit with the division games. And I know it's division games. It's not supposed to be like that, but like Mike has said, Dak owns this division, and he owns the Giants, and he really owns the Redskins. The Commanders. Sorry. A slip right there, but the Commanders. And so they helped us out in there. And if we can take one away from Tampa or Cincinnati, or even both of them, we're sitting pretty if we look at the rest of our schedule. I know this was just the first 4 weeks for this pod, and I don't want to take any of you guys' flash or any other guest speakers, but if we can go 3-1 or 4-0 in this start, we're sitting really, really pretty for the rest of this year.
Absolutely. All right, so we're going to do the record recap here. Massey, you had us going 3-1. Pig, you have us at 3-1. I have us at a perfect 4-0. Massey, when you look at the strength of schedule, does that matter to you?
The start to the year?
No, just overall the strength of schedule every year.
No, I mean, it does a little bit, but then it doesn't as well. Because the strength of schedule, if you look at the strength of schedule at the beginning of every year and you look at it at the end of every year, it's always completely different. Just because a team being bad one year doesn't mean they're going to be bad the next year, and a team being good one year doesn't mean they're going to be good the next year. It happens all the time. To where if you look at it, the going into last season, the Cowboys had an insanely easy strength of schedule going in. By season end, we had one of the tougher set of schedules. Like we had like people don't even talk about it, but we had a better strength of schedule than Tampa Bay. We had a better strength of schedule than Green Bay. The only playoff team in the NFC, I believe, that had a tougher strength of schedule than us was the 49ers. So, like, I mean, it changes throughout the year. So I don't really look at that much, to be honest with you.
What's your circled game on the schedule this year? You got to have one.
We talked about it, Tampa Bay.
Oh, okay. Week 1.
I think that's a huge game for us. And the reason why I wanted to lean with the win in Tampa Bay rather than a win in Cincinnati is because of tiebreaker scenarios. You want that NFC win rather than if we're going to lose, make sure it's to an AFC team. That's my thinking. Like, I know some people like, oh, that doesn't matter, but it does. We saw that last year with how the seeding worked out in the playoffs. If we would have tied with Tampa Bay and Green Bay, we would have had the number 1 seed. That could have been done wonders for us. So it's very important to win those games. So I think Tampa Bay getting off to that good start, 1-0 start, which you want to do. You want to get that first win. Getting the monkey off your back of everybody saying, oh, you guys can't beat Tom Brady, and just putting it out there like we kind of did last year. A lot of people didn't think we were going to be good. And then we came out and we battled Tampa Bay, the defending champions, in Tampa Bay, and we were seconds. Yeah, we were seconds away from beating them. And people were like, well, okay, maybe this Dallas team is a little bit better than we thought. And we were. So setting that tone against Tampa Bay, I think is an important thing to do.
It's crazy to think about that. Missed extra points or what were the difference maker in that game, man.
2 missed field goals and a missed extra point.
Yeah, very crazy. Yeah, sorry, not extra points, but field goals. Massey, I know you're a big fan of the front office. You're a big fan of Stephen Jones, and you like how he handles things. Did Dallas get better this offseason, sir?
Be honest.
No, we did not. We did. I mean, the only way you're going to say we did better is if guys develop, and just personnel wise, we did not, because honestly we lost some good people and we didn't bring in equal quality to replace those guys. We lost Randy Gregory, who Dante Fowler's not on Randy Gregory's level. I'm sorry, he's just not. Collins, we lost Collins. Okay, regardless of what some people on Twitter want to tell you, Steele is not a better right tackle than Collins. I'm sorry, he's not. We lost Cooper. I love CeeDee Lamb, but we already had CeeDee Lamb. We didn't. James Washington, who we brought in, is not on the level of Amari Cooper. We didn't the guys we lost, we didn't replace with quality people to replace them. It just didn't happen.
What about when you think about mindset, maybe philosophy, if you will, having the right attitude? Do you feel that we improved there at all?
Possibly. I mean, with I think we can improve in some areas. Another year in Dan Quinn's off defense might make the defense better, regardless of, losing Randy Gregory. Micah Parsons going into his second year, Diggs going into his third year. These guys developing, understanding the defensive system a little bit more. I think that could help. I think that defense overall could be improved because of that, but it's not because we got better personnel wise.
Gotcha.
I think offense can get better too, because if the offensive line can play better than they did last year, and Dak can be healthy all year, then we can play better than we were playing at the end of the year, regardless of personnel wise. We could be better. So, Kellen Moore, Mike McCarthy and Kellen Moore sitting down and be like, hey, this is how we need to beat this type of defense, the cover 2 shell that was killing us at the end of last year. This is what we need to do to beat that. That can help. So, yes, we can be better in execution and stuff like that. But on paper, personnel-wise, we got worse.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
I want to do a shameless plug. I'm doing an article right now. Should be out by the end of the week, hopefully. And it's basically about that. It's about this offseason and kind of the risk Dallas is taking in the way they're going about this offseason and how they're on a real thin line because of the way they're thinking as a front office. It not that it can't work, but it's a real slight edge. So yeah, look for that. And what's your record prediction for the year, for the full? Go through the rest. You started 3-1. Now, what is it at the end of the year?
I'm saying, as of right now, pre-training camp, 11-6.
Oh, I don't hate that.
Similar. I had to save mine, but I'm similar.
Okay.
All right, Massey,
I think we win the East and go 11-6. So.
Okay, so at 11-6, you have Dallas as a playoff team, then, sir.
Yes, I do.
All right, then give your Super Bowl prediction for the year. Doesn't have to be us. What 2 teams you think?
Give me in the AFC. I'm gonna say the Chargers.
Ooh,
I liked what they did this offseason. I really like what they did this offseason. And in the NFC, man, I'll do it. Give me the Cowboys. Just because I'm homer. Just because I'm hoping and wishing. Huh? I'll take the homer. I'll take the homer. I'll take the homer label on this one, and I'll say.
That's all right. The guy, my friggin' host here is all 4-0. 4-0, Mr. 4-0 can't lose the game over here.
Hey, but you know what? I mean, I feel like a week 1 victory over Tampa Bay. I mean, I think that could be the spark that this team needs to start the season off hot, man. I really do.
Yeah.
Yep. Agreed.
All right, Massey, I know you do a lot of work here in the off season, or let me rephrase it. I know you do a lot of work Cowboys wise, content creating. Can you talk to people about that? What can they expect from you this off season, where they can find your work?
Yeah. So hopefully me and Dan are going to be able to get the 4D podcast up and running again. We've taken a little break just because of, and that's on me. I had to do some schooling stuff and everything like that. So we had to take a short little hiatus. So hopefully we get that launched back up. And then there might be something, I'm not going to spoil it, but there might be something coming up in the next couple of weeks that's a big announcement from me and a couple other content creators. So be on the lookout for that. If you don't follow me on Twitter, give me a follow, and you'll get a little announcement in a couple weeks.
You should follow this man on Twitter. If you're a Cowboys fan, you need to hit that follow. 4D podcast as well.
Yes, sir. Massey, hit us with that handle again.
Yeah, Twitter at the J A Massey Massey Massey. I
appreciate you coming on tonight, Mike. Where can we find you on Twitter?
At CD Piglet, guys. Letter C, letter D, Piglet.
Guys, I'm Paul Ryan. You can find me on Twitter at Paul_Ryan15. We appreciate you joining us, and we'll see you guys next week.
Have a good one.